For Christmas, the holiday spending, that it's a number that's crazy as far as what these corporations make. It was like $886.7 billion that they make.
This year, in 2024, it's projected that at least $979 billion is going to be spent on the economy.
Half of Americans don't have $500 disposable. They're saving for an emergency.
Building legacies, bridging the wealth gap, teaching financial literacy, and providing you with the keys to success. Nothing is off the table. Building legacies, one brick at a time.
Welcome to the Building Legacies podcast. We're back with another episode with our new co-host. I'm going to say new, even though this is the second time she's with us. We're back with
Third time.
It's the third time? Okay, technically it's three.
Right.
Technically it's three. The first time you was a guest. We couldn't do what you want to. We had to stop you a little bit. But now, since you're part of the crew, you can say and do what you want.
Don't make it true now, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
We'll have some control.
No, well, we're going to listen to you. We that's why we brought you on the show. We needed some grounding. Ain't that right?
Right, absolutely. Different perspective. You know what I mean? Right, it's always refreshing,
Absolutely. So we wanted to discuss, huh?
I'm glad to be here with you guys.
Man, same here with us. So today we're going to be discussing personal finance, and especially how it deals with the holiday season coming up. Because we know during the holiday season, man, we all go crazy. I try my best not to go crazy. I'm going to tell you that. I'm a miser. I like to hoard. I like to hold on. I like to make sure to see it there. Sometimes I could be a Scrooge in disguise. I don't want to spend it because I know, guess what? At first, coming back around the corner once that Christmas is over. So
hey, listen,
that's how I move, huh?
And the mortgage company, all of these bills, they don't care nothing about the holidays, what you spent. They don't want to hear nothing.
They don't care about the gift giving, huh?
They don't care about anything. If you late on that payment, there's going to be a late fee assessed. You know what I mean? It's nothing. I don't want to talk about it. So I'm glad we're having this conversation because, just culturally, holidays is real big, amongst just American culture in general. And
right about that, right. And I was even reading something, Eric. They were talking about the average American. They were just giving like some stats what the average American spends, during the holidays. And like you mentioned, Stanley, we have Thanksgiving here right around the corner. It's Christmas, and we have New Year's, and a lot of us, we do like all this emotional spending because we feel that we have to buy a gift for everybody in our family, and sometimes we're not thinking about the end result. Like we're just spending, but we're not thinking about, okay, well, this has to be paid back. So you pull out your credit card and you just in the holiday season and you're just spending, and then when the new year come and you get this credit card bill, you're like, wait, I spent how much money? And then, I don't know what the stats are, but, I would say the average person, they probably don't pay off their credit card at the end of the month. So
no,
absolutely. I wouldn't think so.
Yeah.
Not at all. They paying the minimum.
Exactly.
Right.
They feel that, okay, well, I'm just going to send a minimum payment to the credit card company because, in a sense, I wouldn't say, like, they feel like they getting over, but they're going to keep their money in their pocket and give the credit card company the least amount. But at the same time, that's what the credit card company want.
Right.
Get it to them, for the next 12 months at what, 26% interest rate,
Right.
And you can never catch up. You think you're going to catch up after the holidays. It's just going to keep piling up on you.
Right.
I think you got to be prepared. I think a lot of people don't think about it, but you got to be prepared when the holidays come. And like myself, a lot of people think that the holiday season or when it comes to retail starts in after Thanksgiving, December 1st, after Thanksgiving, when you got Black Friday or Cyber Monday. No, but it actually starts at the beginning of November. That's when this holiday season starts.
What? Stanley, not to cut you, but I have read something that with these retailers, right? I think it's like 59% of retailers, right? They start their holiday promotion. They start as early as September.
Oh, okay. Well,
That's
Right,
not
right. They gotta get you warmed up. You know what I mean?
look, I'm in that same boat. E. I'm not gonna lie. I just want a little bit pieces for the GF brand. That's all. I want a couple people to buy a couple hoodies. That's all. GF Gold Fingerprint. Buy a couple of hoodies. But go ahead. E.
Right, right. You know, and being entrepreneurs, having businesses, whether it's products you're selling online or physical products, whatever, you can learn from these corporations. You know what I mean? Because they set the blueprint and how early they start their marketing. You know what I mean? To get you warmed up. Because if you wasn't thinking about it, now you are, because they start with the mass marketing and getting you prepared for the holidays. And what I learned recently too about Black Friday, the reason why they call it Black Friday, right? Because you have a lot of corporations at that particular time, they go from being in the red pretty much for a significant period of time during the year. And during this season, they be in the black, meaning now they become profitable. And that's why these corporations are incentivized to push these holidays. You know what I mean? Not just to capitalize on it, but to push it, to make it bigger than what it is. So they put Christmas out there because they benefit from it financially. And then you have a lot of the owners of the corporations, you know, different religions and things like that. They don't even participate, particularly in Christmas. They don't even participate in it, but they capitalize off of it because they understand the climate of American culture, you know, as far as these holidays. So something we just got to be aware of, you know.
right. You're right about that too, Eric. 'Cause I think I read something where, you know, Christmas, you know, the holiday spending, that it's a number, you know, that's crazy as far as what these corporations make. And it was like $886.7 billion that they make
Right.
during the holiday, you know. So that's a lot of money, you know. It's like when you said that they in the red, and then, you know, when the holidays come,
Right.
it helps them, you know, to get. And I believe that, you know, because that's money that,
Actually, with my business, even in trucking, but it's called peak season. And we all, as truckers, particularly in the box truck space, the home deliveries and things of that nature, we actually wait for peak season too. You get what I'm saying? Because we become more profitable as well. So I'm waiting on it myself. You know what I mean? Because when peak season comes around, it's a lot more activity because it's a lot more shopping, especially like Amazon and all this other stuff. So now Amazon specifically, they volume increases, so they need trucks to haul their freight.
Absolutely.
And they pay better rates at this particular time. So I've been waiting for months for this season, honestly. You know what I'm saying?
So we might not even see you, huh? We're gonna have to squeeze you in every now and then, huh?
Listen,
I put the lines off for this too, huh?
I'm a capitalist, you know what I mean? So I have to capitalize.
You're gonna look to do, you know?
Well,
Right.
listen, E, to piggyback off what you said, like, you know, as far as this is a good time of the year for a lot of industries, right?
Right.
So, like you said, they capitalize on this time of the year because the first quarter of next year is when everything starts to slow down. Like Bridget said, people trying to, you know, rein in what they spent. And like she said, from September, from that last quarter, they trying to rein in and see what they can save. They're not so readily to spend. And so they say that this year, 2024, is projected that at least $979 billion is going to be spent on the economy.
Wow.
You feel what I'm saying? So that's a large number. Like you said, Bridget, that is an extreme large number.
And I want to put this out there. I want to know, do you guys know like what the average person spends, you know, for Christmas during this, you know, shopping season?
No.
The last number that I saw was somewhere between like $800 and $1,000, maybe like almost $900. And I'm like, wow, like it's increasing. But when you put it into perspective with inflation, you have to spend. You know, it was a time where you could spend maybe 20 years ago a few $100. Well, depends on, you know, who you're trying to. But because of inflation, we're spending more because things are costing more. But that was the last number I saw. It's roughly $900, and I'm
Right.
like, wow, you know.
Hmm.
But do you think about like who you spending that on? That's not just on one person. You know, you got your the grandbaby, or if you have children. You know, I got a granddaughter, so you know I have to spoil her. But my children are grown, so
You're
they
not
don't,
giving out gifts, huh? E?
they don't even look at me for no gifts. You know?
Yeah, like my Christmas shopping is easy peasy.
And then adults, I
Wait.
don't buy adults anything. Like I'm gonna do something for my mom, you know what I'm saying? But I don't buy adults anything for Christmas. You know what I'm saying? I think that's more so for the babies. But yeah, just getting back, you know, to the discussion at hand, just dealing with personal finance and just getting control of your spending, you know, particularly like I said, it's wise to prepare, like you mentioned, Ty, like so you don't be pressed to pull out that credit card with that
Yeah,
20
create a budget for yourself.
right throughout the year, you know, early in the year. So you know Christmas comes around every year. You know what I mean? You had enough time to prepare. And so I always encourage people to be mindful of their spending because another stat that I saw, which was you know, kind of alarming to me, was the average or most Americans, right, or nearly half of Americans don't have $500 disposable saving for an emergency.
Well, you're
Right.
supposed to what? You're supposed to save up at least, is it 3 months or 6 months
Yeah, 3 to 6
of that
Three,
emergency fund?
So
Three
if they
months
don't
or six?
if they don't have a $500 saved up, but then yet they're spending double of that during the holiday season,
right,
wrong with
on
that
credit,
equation. Something's
right,
definitely wrong with that equation. So that's
right,
part of the reason why we're doing this podcast. The name of our show, Building Legacies, and getting a grip on your finances is definitely an integral part of building legacies. So people out there, holidays coming around, just get a grip on your shopping. If you can't afford something, don't buy it.
go buy it.
I agree. And listen, let me tell you that people don't take into effect that you just, like he said, gifts. You give gifts. You got to watch that, right? But everything else involves in that, right? As far as travel, you got to account for that. You got to account for the decorations that you're going to buy,
Yeah,
the increase in goods, products, and services, because this is the time of the year they're going to make money. So you got to really, really sit and say, you know what, this is what I'm going to spend on that, and you're going to adhere to that. That's the psychology of money. Most people are not going to do it. This is the time of year that we just going to go crazy, and so this is why we trying to have this show, even if it's just in a short discussion. We're just trying to say that listen, rein in your spending because it's already been bad. The economy already been bad for the last few years. We already know this. So you have to rein in your spending, and you have to be prepared for when January 1st comes.
absolutely.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah, because most financial planners, like we mentioned, particularly with saving, you know, if you don't have, if you can't do it, you can't do it. And I know, you know, we be in the spirit to want to splurge, you know, especially with kids, you know what I mean? You know that, you know, they take the holiday season seriously, you know what I mean? And you don't want to disappoint them. But a wise thing to do is maybe try to find some more affordable things, you know, and as opposed to designer things, you know what I mean? All this stuff like that. You could possibly like, particularly like for instance, like with Kwanzaa, you think about Kwanzaa and the principle of Kwanzaa, it's gifts given daily throughout that period, but they don't, it's not, you're not required to break the bank. You know what I
Right.
mean? You could give a person a book, you know what I mean, for $10 that would have more lasting, you know, impression than some item. Like when we were children, you get a toy, play with it for like 3 days. I see my grandma do that all the time. You get a toy, after about 2 days, she don't want that no more. You know what I'm saying? Like we get burnt out on it. So there's other ways of doing things more affordable that's, you know, particularly you know, so that you don't break the bank. You know what I mean?
Right. And then sometimes too, we gotta think about other gifts too that we can't buy in the store. We got to think about we if you have a grandmother, like spending time with her. You understand? That's a gift right there.
Right.
showing people more love, building stronger relationships. It doesn't have to always be something materialistic, so we got to get out of all that materialistic um things, and then, like, trying to keep up with the Joneses. There was a saying that people, they're more concerned about walking around with a designer bag, right? They'll walk around with a designer bag that costs $1,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
And only have $1 inside of it. Whereas
Hmm.
someone that's financially educated, they'll walk around with a plastic bag, but then they'll have $1,000 in it. Understand me? So they rather have that, the plastic bag with the money in it. But
Right.
then the ones that's not financially literate, they want to be walking around with this designer bag that they can't hardly afford. Understand
Right.
me? Trying to
Right.
keep up with the Joneses,
Right.
and
Right.
then they don't have no money in their pocket.
No money for an emergency. Um,
And
yeah,
that bag is not an asset, it's a liability, so we gotta start thinking about, like, taking our money and putting it into assets like that. So, don't get me wrong, it's nice, to be able to buy something for your family and your friends for the holidays, but if you can't
It
afford
feels
it, like,
good for that one day.
yeah,
It
don't buy
feels
it.
good for that one smile that you
right.
could get. Then after that, you in there scratching your head, you stressing, you sweating, you don't know how you gonna rob Peter to pay Paul. So you
Right.
have to be you gotta be prepared, and that's just it, man.
Yeah, and you taking out that credit card, that going over your limit, and you maxing this credit card, and you wondering how you're gonna be able to pay this, like, don't go shopping, and your check, your pay, you're going to use like a whole month of paychecks just to get these gifts for people. So we gotta really
Right.
think about it.
And you know the ironic thing, you have a lot of people that knows the basic um, idea of, especially adults. We've been around, we've been had money, lost it. So, but the implementing, implementing and being disciplined
Right.
enough to say, you know what? Because, like I said, it's about, you don't want to disappoint the children. Like, you get what I'm saying? Who want to see their grandbaby looking like, you know what I'm saying? So,
I didn't get nothing.
right, you know what I'm saying? So that's what affects a lot of people more. Like, I know I don't have it. I know I'm in a bind, but I cannot let them down. You get what I'm saying? So it's that aspect too. I think that because I know financially literate people that make decisions. I know we spoke about this on a previous podcast. A friend of mine, financially literate, right? We used to study together. Like, he could break down everything, right? He had credit card debt up to his neck, right? So, and when I talk to him, I'm like, yo,
You
what's,
know the process, yeah.
but he like, yo, man, I just wanted to have some fun, man. You know what I'm saying? So, the credit cards, they're enticing. And then you think about, you know what? I'll pay this back later. You know what I mean? I'm going to have fun right now. You know what I mean? So, so it's about acquiring the knowledge, right? But being disciplined enough to implement it. You know what I mean? And yeah, so financial literacy is very important, and that's one thing we stress here on
Yeah, I
Building
think
Connections.
also too is getting the grip of your emotions. So, like, you're getting out there, you're going to the stores, they got playing all this holiday music, it's getting to your emotions, and you do a lot of emotional buying. You're like, oh, this is a great sale. Oh, this is a great sale. And some of the things you actually really don't need,
Right.
I mean, you have your child, you may want to get them one gift or two gifts. They don't need like 20 different gifts,
Right.
especially if you can afford it. So don't get all wrapped up into the emotion. You gotta have that logical sense, thinking of your brain and say, you know what, you gotta put a break on it. I'm not gonna get into all that, because if you follow all the advertising and stuff like that, you'll do a lot of emotional spending. That's where they get you in your
Right.
pockets. You do
Yeah.
all that emotional spending. Yeah. So
Right.
So
Right.
so
so so so everything is tied in together, right? So when we speak of the personal finance, it's um when we speak of that, it is a collective body as far as the stock market, as far as the retail going on, because the market reacts to how well the holiday season goes, right? The holiday season go good is an indication that the market is going to go good. Investors are going to want to invest their money in the
Right.
companies that have increased their revenue and their value. And it's also the opposite. So when we speak of personal finance, this is when we say we need several different streams of income, right? Because that one stream of income is not going to get you anymore. So even if you don't even if you can't rein in your spending, even if you can't control yourself, if you had some investments in the market, at least you can see that grow on that hand, right? Or if you had another small income where you did a hobby or whatever it is. But the goal is to definitely have several streams of income, especially for times like this. So even if you do go a little bit over your spending, you know you still got streams coming in from other endeavors.
Right, right. Yeah, absolutely.
Point that you made too, Stanley, because I noticed that in my industry, I noticed like around this time, this is where we see like more the delinquencies when it comes to
Right,
like YouTube payments and stuff like that.
right,
These are people who don't really have a grip, on their finances, where they'll say, okay, well, it's more important for me to go buy this present, versus, roof over their head, and they spend their rent money, on gifts. And then they get behind, and next thing you know, before you know it, we have to file an eviction, so we do see higher delinquencies during this time, during the holiday season. So
Wow.
people, you don't want to get yourself, you
right.
can think about what's important, because you know what, you want to go buy those gifts, but you can't live inside them gifts too, so you
Exactly.
got that, your essentials, what's important, a roof over your head, food. You got to take care of those aspects before you go take care of the pleasure aspects. Don't get caught up in all the holiday, emotional spending, especially when you can't afford it.
Right, absolutely.
Mhm.
And like we had mentioned, when you think about just the average, well, it said nearly half of Americans, so I guess that's across the board, have less than $500 saved for an emergency, which makes them vulnerable. So any little thing, so like if things happen, things come up. Like I always say to people, it's not if something is going to happen, it's when.
When?
I mean, so that's how I operate. I operate from that standpoint that things are going to happen. So you want to make sure you're prepared. So, but I encourage people, our viewing audience. It's a book called The Richest Man in Babylon, right? And excellent book. I read it several times, and it gives you some basic principles on personal finance. It tells short stories too to help you understand the impact of certain decisions. You know what I mean? Like it speaks on saving 10% of your income,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And in the book, there was a story. This guy, he was the actual richest man in Babylon, and the king, he was concerned about the people, so he wanted people to be, a little more financially well off. So he commissioned this guy to come teach. He wanted him to teach teachers, and then they go out to the communities and educate people. So, and like a seminar, just think of it like a seminar. So he was speaking. So one guy, when he spoke about saving 10% of your income, it was over somebody that they can't fathom doing that. They're like, how could I do that? I'm up to my neck already in expenses. How am I gonna do that? So he was basically saying like number one, take an inventory of where you're spending your money. You get what I'm saying? And then if you have to cut back somewhere, like for instance, you might have brothers, they get their little 2 bags of weed every day, their little beer. You know what I mean? You have to slow that down a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Or you at the Starbucks.
That ain't gonna happen.
Yeah, you like the Starbucks muffin and coffee that's costing you $15. You know what I'm saying? Or you
Yeah.
can go to a store, whatever. So it's ways of just being disciplined. And like he said, if you'd be surprised, and I actually practice this, that if you live on 90% of your income, you realize that your lifestyle didn't change. Your standard of living didn't change, but you're putting up that 10%. And then a counter argument would be, okay, 10% of, say for instance, they make $500 a week. They say, okay, 10% is $50. So they save $50. What I'm actually going to do with that?
It adds up. The compound effect.
Right. It adds up over time, especially if you financially literate, you could put it into like a high yield savings account where it can give you some good interest. But even still, like I tell people, even if it's $50, what you're doing, which is most important, is you're creating a habit.
Right.
Right?
Discipline.
You're creating habits. Like, so even if you only got $50 for the month, let alone a week, you say I only can put up $50 this month. That's fine, because you start to develop a habit. And then as your earning potential increases, like they stress in the book, you may acquire another skill set. You may learn something else that bring in more income. Now that you're in this habit of saving, now that $50, now you're saving $150. You know what I mean? So more so than anything, you want to build that habit of saving, and it works. You know, I've actually practiced it.
I would agree with you on that too, because what had helped me on my financial journey. So when you talk about books, the book Rich Dad Poor Dad, and he talked about paying yourself first. You know, so like, okay, well, when we get paid, right, our paycheck goes to everyone else. It goes to Con Ed, it may go to Verizon, your car note, wherever it is, and when you finish paying all your bills, there's nothing left.
Right.
So he's saying, no, what you got to do the reverse, right? You pay yourself first. So when you get paid, whatever amount that you set needs to come out of your check, and you put that on the side. That's for you. That's for your freedom account.
I tried that. I don't know, for some reason I'm gonna have to talk to you outside of the podcast, because I've tried to do that. That pay yourself first. I'm like, hold on. I might think too highly of myself. Listen, I pay myself first. I'm like, hold up.
But
And
see,
then
pay yourself first, because if you pay yourself first, you're just going to take that money and put it to the side. Like it's
what percentage are you actually taking away now? Because like you said, you may think too highly of yourself. You may you may be taking half of a paycheck saying, "Well, hold on, this is for me." You know what I'm saying?
and then I say to myself, "Oh my God, I had to knock this bill off right here. I forgot about this one. Okay, now I got to take back and do this."
No,
So it got to be a process, right?
When you put that money aside, it stays there. You don't touch it. Okay.
Regardless.
What you got left is what you're gonna pay your bills with.
Okay.
And then you're gonna be like, okay, well, I don't have enough money. I'm short $100. You're gonna find a way to pay the light bill, okay?
All
Now,
right.
you put in that freedom account is not an option, okay? Because
Okay,
you're gonna
I
go
got
with it. But if you know that you know that money's not an option, your light's gonna be cut off. You're gonna find a way to come up with that.
Like I
You
said,
gotta do overtime. You gotta do an extra shift. You ain't gonna have your lights cut off, so you're gonna find a way to come up with that money.
right? And listen, you may not could go to the bar. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And you know, but when it comes to paying yourself first, if you pay all your bills first and then you have to pay yourself, you're not going to find a way to pay yourself.
Right.
But you're going to find a way to pay that bill. The car note is due, your mortgage is due. You're going to find a way to come up with that shortfall, you know? So if it's like doing overtime, going to get a second job, you know, it's really about how bad you want it, you know?
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll definitely figure it out. And that's something I implemented as well, because I remember reading that, you know, some years back, and that was contrary to what I've been taught coming up. Basically, pay your bills first. You know, that's what's been instilled in me. Like, listen, pay your bills first. I don't care what happened. But then you think about it like, wait a minute.
But that's how you get trapped.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. What about me? You see what I'm saying? Really, in the equation, I come in that, and then that teaches that you come in first. And now, like you said, and it's important. You'll find a way to get it done. You know what I mean? So, okay, I can't go here this month or this week or whatever. You know, I can't do it, and that's fine. You know what I mean?
But if you're thinking that, okay, that money in that freedom account is an option, you're going to keep, it's not going to work, you know? That's all. Understand me? That money is for a specific purpose. So, like, if you're trying to start your own business and don't have the capital for it, that's where it's going to come from. You're trying to invest into a property, don't have a down payment, that's where it's going to come from.
So which is the best way either one of you suggest? Do you suggest putting it in an account that you don't touch, or actually just putting it to the side yourself in your home or whatever you want to do?
Well, what I did is I had it come out of my paycheck automatically.
Right.
You know, you can have those auto drafts come out of your paycheck if you're working at a job, and it goes into that account. You know,
Got you.
that account is off limits. You know,
Mm-hmm.
And
that
you
account
know,
is off limits.
Kyle, I don't know if you remember, when we were incarcerated. Remember when they brought the computer system? Remember they brought the Western. It was like MoneyGram. Remember they
Yeah.
brought all that to the system. A part of the account where it allowed you. Because this is where I started practicing that. Ironically, was in prison.
Yeah.
It had a option where if you wanted money that came in from the street, it'd be automatically. So, like, say you was working, like a Unicor or some kind of program, you could have both monies. Then you could select the percentage that you wanted. And I remember reading those books. I started with 10%, right? I said, let me start with 10%. So anything I was receiving, from friends and family, 10% automatically would go into the savings account. And then if I was working Unicor, which is, for those that don't know, it's a program, like an industry program.
Mm-hmm.
It tells a lot of things. But any money that I received from that, 10% was being deducted. And wasn't much, but I was seeing my little $20 here, $30 here. And for me, that was practice. Because like we talked about in the previous podcast episode, coming from our backgrounds, with fast money, a budget is, I didn't even know how to spell budget until recently. You know what I'm saying? So that wasn't even a concept because just the lifestyle and the income that were coming in. So I said, you know what, let me start to practice some the habits that I knew that were going to be useful when I eventually would be released. So, and I still practice that to this day. And like I mentioned, more so than anything, the habits that I created. You know what I mean?
It's right.
Even though it was $20 being deducted, and in my mind, I'm like, it's $20, but I also understood, create a habit, and I had this habit now for like X amount of years because I implemented what I've learned.
Right. It makes it easier for you too. And I remember
Right.
even with myself when I had my first job, and there was an older gentleman. He told me, he said, "Listen, whatever you do when you get paid, save a percentage of your paycheck." And I recall my first job was working at Burger King, and I think it might have even been like $10 that I was saving out my paycheck. But I made sure that every time I got paid, I saved something out of it. And before you know it, that compound effect will, come into effect, and you're looking, you're like, oh wow, I got $1,000 saved. Oh wow, I got $2,000 saved. Where if you just try and save it out the gate, it's gonna seem like difficult or, unachievable. But you add a little bit each and every, doing it consistently, you will reach that goal. Whatever it is you do, you gotta be consistent and persistent.
And the crazy thing about it, once you get up to you have $1,000 or $2,000, now you're more motivated and inspired.
You see how it works.
Sometimes, when you're on that small level with $20, you got to be patient and disciplined. You see that 2,000 now, you're like, oh,
Well, I'm gonna add up. I'm gonna triple that.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
gotta
yeah.
And like
Right.
you was talking about, Eric, like, live on 90%, of your income and save the other 20%. But you know what? If you want to take it a little bit further, people that get ahead, they live way below than what they make. Understand me? So even if they making $100,000 a year, they may live on 45. Understand me? Then they're able to bank that difference. Understand me?
Mhm.
And so then even too, as their income increases, their expenses doesn't.
Right.
The legislator is saying this is how they're able to, build the wealth. People always think, okay, well, I got this pay, I got this raise, or I got this better job, and now I got to go, spend more money and go get me a fancier car and all that stuff like that. No, keep your same old Honda. Understand me? Like,
Right.
because that money you can save, to do your investments, to start
So-
your own business. So that's how you're gonna get ahead.
So you think is that now, because this is for couples, you got singles, you got couples, and people that are couples. Should that 90% rule be applied to couples, and that 10% a piece when it comes to couples, or just 10% collectively?
I think really, you should be live on way less than 90.
Right, because it could be more. I think the 10% rule was just something just as you to get started with. But like most financial planners, both they tell you if you could increase it. Cause I remember doing it myself. I started with the 10 just to get familiar with the process, disciplining myself, and really understanding what I was doing. But I also increased it to 30%. You know what I mean? So that, so it depends on your situation. But like she mentioned, learning to live significantly below your means with the purpose and intentions of using the excess for investing in that freedom that you eventually want. So you got to decide. And as a couple, it may be easier. Say, okay, you're both bringing in whatever amount. You say, okay, let's sit down together as a family.
Yeah, so the 10% is just is a beginning stage, or you say it's just an ideology, right? 10% doesn't necessarily. It can be 15, it can be 20, whatever you etch out, whatever 10% you make it out to be. It could be 20% if you want.
Because most people, 10% is a lot. You feel what I'm saying? So it's something just you may have to start with 5, depending on what
I got you.
And then you start making the adjustments, because that's like it'll be a shock to a person that's not familiar with the concept. You say, listen, right now you have to say they put away 10%. They up to their neck and as far as the expenses. So they have to kind of make adjustments. So start when you can, but with the goal of increasing it with the purpose of making some investments so you could build that legacy of acquiring real estate or making investments to get you away from that 9 to 5 or whatever it is you're doing.
Right. And it goes back to your why too. Understand me? Like, why are you doing it? Because that's what's going to push you, your why. And so, depending on how motivated you are. So, I mean, for me, my why was that, I wanted to not have to work at a job until I was 62. So I was willing to sacrifice certain things. You understand me? So, and all of us, I feel that there's things that we can cut out of our budget, and we can do without, depending on how bad you want something, so you don't have to go change your car every 2 and 3 years because someone else got a new car. You may say, no, I'm going to keep my car, drive the same old car. It could be a Honda Accord, whatever like that. And it's 10, 20, years old, as long as it's getting you from point A to point B. And so that money that you save by not having a car note for all those years, you could take that money now and save it and invest it. Understand me? So what if your friend went and got him a new Benz? Understand me? But he got a car note that
that goes along with the Benz, huh?
And then the maintenance and all that, and that he's trying to look fly in it, and he's struggling to pay for it. Can't hardly afford it. But you thinking that he can, but you really don't know, that he can't. But then you got your vehicle that you've been having for 10 years, or you ain't going to change your vehicle. No, I ain't changing my vehicle. It's fine. It's getting me from point A to point B. I'm saving out of my dough in my pocket,
Absolutely.
Yeah, so you got to start thinking like that. You can't, just because someone else went and got something expensive don't mean that you should go get it, And there's nothing wrong with having these things, but when you are ready and you can afford them.
Right. And like I always say, friends of mine, we have discussions. It's a saying that I've learned that you don't want to put the cart before the horse, meaning, you don't want to put, your priorities on the back burner for, like you said, just to look or have a certain presentation or something, you want to front, but as opposed to saying, you know what, I'm going to, when I do get things that I like, because I'm a proponent of having things that you like. Because
when you're ready.
Right.
You're struggling.
Right. Because you have like some financial advice, like I listen to like Dave Ramsey's and different guys, you know what I'm saying? And with Dave Ramsey, he's going to save every dime till he die. You know what I'm saying?
You can't afford it.
Yeah. But
feels good in certain
right. In certain ways, but I follow different philosophies, but I take bits and pieces. But I like things, but it's the thing is not putting the cart before the horse. Like for me, if you see me with something, understand that. You get what I'm saying? So that's the philosophy, like not putting the cart before the horse. And I think that's where we struggle at. We so pressed to get these things and not having a savings, not having any investments,
Right.
not being financially, comfortable, so we more concerned with how we look. So I definitely agree with that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 'cause I mean, I think like when I was working, like a lot of my coworkers, they were nurses, and with in the nursing industry, you can work, two jobs. They work in 16 hours, and they driving, they changing their vehicle every year or two. Me, I kept my same vehicle. I kept my vehicle for like 10 years, and I was driving that back and forth to work. I could have afforded a newer vehicle, but I said no. You know what? I knew what was important to me, so I was taking my money and I was putting it into real estate, 'cause that was going to allow me to be able to walk away from the job one day. So I didn't get caught
I
up
think
in
that's more important.
yeah, because my
I
time
think
was
it's
more
more
important
important.
to me. My time was more important to me,
Right.
and so it all depends on what's important to you. But they were all working all these hours. They exhausted. I'm not bashing the nurses now. So
I don't know. I don't know. It sounds like no. I'm messing with
I'm just telling you what I observe, and I just didn't want that for me. So if that's someone likes that, that's fine. But for me, I just wanted to have my time and be able to get my adequate rest and stuff like that. And I didn't want to kill myself for a job just for materialistic items. So that's just my take on things.
Well, listen. That's a good viewpoint. That's a good idea to have because most people, a lot of people, and when I say that, I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know. Want to look good first and have something second. I mean, for me to have gone through the things that we've been through, to say that, home ownership, it feels good. I
Right.
mean, but people didn't, my mother and father always had that when we were young. I never listened to them, but yeah, it feels good to say that, but also I would like for people to start giving the other part of that too. All of the things that come along with it. The increased
Yeah.
pay. This you got to fix this, and you got to do that and do that. So
The
you know,
taxes.
just say it's an asset, but sometimes it be feeling like a liability. I'm not gonna lie to you,
And
man.
Well, Robert Kiyosaki talks about, he says, like, your primary home, like you
Right.
said, he said he doesn't consider it an asset because he said assets are things that put money in your pocket.
Absolutely,
Liability takes things away from you. So, like the home that you live in, you have a mortgage that you're paying for it. He considers that a liability in the sense that you're
absolutely,
taking money out of your pocket. But now if you had a rental property that a tenant was paying the expenses for, and then plus putting money in your pocket, he called those assets. So
Right.
but I mean, your primary home still is an asset. I look at it.
yeah,
It appreciates in value, and it's
yeah.
Right.
As far as equity is concerned and things of that nature, yeah.
better than
Okay,
pay your rent. You get tax write off, but there's a lot of responsibility that comes along with it as well too.
absolutely,
Right,
absolutely.
and then you can eventually get it paid off as well too. People don't know that you don't have to wait for 30 years and then have a mortgage. But when you're renting, you're gonna always pay rent. You can. You have a mortgage, you can at least one day get that home paid off, and you don't
Right.
have to no longer pay a mortgage.
Or if you resell it and you get a profit from the resale, correct?
Yeah. Correct. Yeah.
So we want to thank everybody for tuning in to the Building Legacies podcast. Man, we had another wonderful episode. We want you to like, subscribe, and share. We want you to spread the word because the only way things is going to get big out here if you guys spread the word of mouth, repost it, shares, and remember, we need your subscription. We need for you to like. We need for you to share it so that Building Legacies, man, in about another year can be a part of the lexicon. When people say Building Legacies, BLDNG Legacies, when they say Building Legacies, we want them to know that that's one of the premier platforms to go to for financial information, for love advice, whatever information is you have, we got there, and we're going to give it to you. So we want to thank everybody for tuning in again, and we thank you very much.
Yeah, we truly appreciate y'all. Peace.